on Katy Perry actually engaging in therapy caught my attention because you don't typically see famous people sitting down in such a vulnerable way. Now, she actually divulged tips and tricks as to how she has protective barriers against depressive symptoms, essentially. And I'll go ahead and share those with you later on in the video. Now, the video is about an hour long, so I'm going to break down kind of the most important hits, the highlights of the video. Stay tuned because I will share the evidence-based tips that Katy Perry uses in her life that I actually very much agree with and do teach in private practice. Now, something that came up that has been coming up a lot lately is kind of the toxicity of social media, particularly Instagram. Now, Instagram has its place in the world. You certainly can make a lot of money. It can be used as a marketing vehicle. It can certainly be used to connect with family and friends, so it can be adaptive. Where it becomes maladaptive, meaning hits your life in a negative way, is when you actually feel like you're being inauthentic and it's impairing your functioning. Now, Katy Perry reveals in this long video that actual social media impairs her life, and it actually affects the way she sees herself and her identity. Now, the reason I really enjoy this video is that there are some evidence-based tips like protective barriers that can actually increase your happiness. Now, if you've actually listened and watched my videos, you'll see that there are 3 protective barriers against depression based on positive psychology research. What are they? I'm sure you know by now. Connection, meaning and purpose and activity, with an added bonus of maybe spirituality, and also one major piece that came up during the Katy Perry interview, which is identity. Identity is also a protective barrier against depression, and it actually can boost your happiness. Now, she says that she actually has a differentiation between Katy Perry and Katherine Hudson, her real name. So Katherine Hudson, she says, is between the age of 11 and 16. Actual, regression comes in when she thinks about being her true self. What she wants to do is really interesting, though. She wants to integrate those 2 identities, Katherine Hudson and Katy Perry, so that she doesn't have to just be on all the time. She can actually integrate both of those personalities. She does have identity issues, and she's trying to integrate those 2 identities. Whether it's Katy Perry or Katherine Hudson, she wants to go ahead and align those so that she feels her authentic self. That's really important to integrate so that you're actually kind of pulling all of those components together when you're looking at living your daily life. So you don't have to always be on. You can actually be your authentic self, which sometimes just means being calmer, being less inclined to kind of engage other people or entertain other people. And I think that's really effective, especially in kind of the work life setting. If you are kind of used to entertaining people for a living, you really want to integrate and be your authentic self, and that just might mean sitting back and listening more. A lot of times I'll give my clients tips to actually just kind of act like a little bit more like a counselor or a therapist. That just means listening, paying attention, not being so on, not talking so much about yourself, and you can actually sit back and relax and not have so much social anxiety, because even extroverts have that. So I thought the piece about identity was really critical and really important for people to understand that identity and having a solid identity is really important as far as being happy and decreasing depressive symptoms. Now, just analyzing the therapy session with Katy Perry, you can see that she's most likely oversaturated, overstimulated by her environment. Just having to be on all the time, you need to kind of fuel up. So it's important to know that introverts, for example, need to be fueled up by being alone. It's really healthy to go ahead and get your space. That's one way to be more authentic, is that you're simply fueled up so you're not so burnt out and oversaturated by your environment. Working in rehabs, I often worked with actors and singers that actually were oversaturated by their environment, whether or not they were introverts or extroverts. And Katy Perry did allude to the fact that she would anesthetize with alcohol at times. Not necessarily binge drinking, but it's simply wanting to be in a different state of mind in order to cope with her environment. So that was another really great point to make. And if you are fueled up by having your alone time or engaging in activities that make you feel fueled up, you're less likely to anesthetize with alcohol. So another great tip. Now, the 3 major ways that she actually copes in life, according to her therapy session interview, was by mindfulness activities like yoga and meditation, and also with family and individual therapy. So obviously I recommend these ways, but I also like to enforce the fact that identity and filling up your identity can be a huge protective barrier for you. And I really want you to have the tools that you can actually use at home to help you increase happiness and decrease depression. That's why I felt like this interview with Katy Perry was so important. So of course she uses mindfulness-based techniques that we actually recommend in therapy, like yoga and meditation, and she participates in individual and family therapy, so added bonuses there. Now, I really want to stress the importance of building an identity, and there are many questions that you can ask yourself to figure out if you are actually honing in on your identity and if there are areas you're lacking in order to kind of enhance and increase your overall identity. So one really good question is, what have I always dreamed of, and what steps can I take this week in order to enhance my potential with regard to actually making that dream happen? Now, people underestimate their dreams a lot of time. I see this in treatment quite frequently. You might think that a famous singer actually just felt like and dreamt of being a singer. Well, actually, they might have another dream, of being something totally different than being an entertainer. And this, it could be writing a book, it could be engaging in some other kind of art form, it could be being more philanthropic and doing something, maybe actually starting a nonprofit. But it's important to ask yourself how you can actually accomplish your dream in different ways. So right now, go ahead and write down the dreams. They may not feel attainable now, but there's certainly steps you could take to actually accomplish those dreams. Another way for kind of enhancing your identity is to increase meaning and purpose, like I always talk about. Community service, meaning and purpose with regard to philanthropy are really major ways you can help enhance your identity. Another area is like, if you're really into sports, if you were an athlete when you were little, you want to go ahead and kind of get back to that. So go ahead and join a team or join the kind of sport that you were interested in as a child. This can kind of activate and make your identity more full as well. So ask yourself, what are my dreams? What were my dreams? And how can I take steps toward my other dreams in life? Because we're ever evolving. We never stop dreaming. And if you do, then you kind of get more stagnant and stuck. And that's what kind of increase pathology like depression. So I really encourage you to enhance your identity, keep going for new goals, keep going for dreams that you used to have, or new dreams, create new ones for yourself. Rebuild your identity as a protective barrier against depression. Again, I'm really happy that Katy Perry put herself out there in this vulnerable position because I think it showed a kind of vulnerability that other people really need to engage in, which is being in individual therapy or family therapy. And if not that, at least go ahead and use these skills like rebuilding your identity on your own, do the work yourself, and engage in mindfulness techniques as well. Anything to enhance your identity is really key. This is Dr. Kim Chronister, licensed clinical psychologist. I'm here for you for weekly tips based on real research, not fluff. Go ahead and join the community, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and I will talk to you soon.